Once upon a time, there were millions of businesses struggling. Every day they wasted time, effort, and money on repetitive tasks that added no value. Then one day, the Better Automation podcast by PROCESIO came to help them find the way. Because of this, these businesses save time, reduce costs, innovate, and make better decisions. Because of that, these businesses grow, scale, and use human creativity to change this world. Hello, my name is Aziz, and I'm your host at Better Automation Podcast by PROCESIO, where I interview the world's top experts and share their very best ideas on how to improve automation in your business, processes, and life. My guest today is Bart Kowalczyk. Bart is the founder at Automate Now. He is a sales automation expert as well as a certified HubSpot partner. Bart is focused on H2H, human to human sales automation, because a human approach is the only one that sells. Bart, how are you today?
Hello, Aziz, and thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast. I'm very, very well. I live in Scotland. It's today surprisingly not sunny. It's a little bit a great day, but hey ho, we will be talking today about automation, and I will be happy to share some of the insights with the clients that we run over past few years.
Thank you. I'm feeling honored. I'm feeling grateful and excited about H2H. So if someone is listening and they're like, what is H2H? Why is it important? Why are the existing or older ways of thinking no longer relevant? Tell us more. What would you say?
I think the H2H is a little bit opposite to what is called cold calling. So we used to get quite a lot of different calls, especially during the COVID pandemics, and people know that we are actually at house and home, and they know that we can pick up the phones. And you might laugh, number of calls I had. So H2 is the quite opposite, which means basically the human-to-human interactions. And what it means in very just simple word is H2H is approaching with customer, know your customer better, to get a little bit of more context in which you're approaching the customer. And I will be talking about a couple of techniques and also ideas how we can apply into the business to be more human.
Thank you. I love this. I agree with it, but I'll play the devil's advocate a little bit, where there are some, when it comes to entrepreneurship or thought leaders in business, that say building relationships does not scale. So you have to do things that don't scale. Basically, they're saying that H2H, yes, is wonderful, but it's not really something that can be automated. What's your counter argument to this? If somebody is having this obstacle in their thought, what would you tell them?
I think first of all, we can't automate humans. So this is a little bit of myth. So we can't automate everything because otherwise we will be robots. So it's the first thing. Second thing is the automation is the process, and I think the way of thinking rather than just automating everything that you can see. So in essence, automate should anything about automation should help you to drive the business. And when you look at the different processes of getting the clients into the pipeline, nurturing them, then moving them towards the kind of evangelist, what HubSpot calls, so people who actually will talk about your business. So there are certain things that we can automate. Automate means taking the right data in the right time so you can be relevant. But also automation means that you're not spamming people. You're not sending irrelevant messages to your inbox. So once you apply these rules, everything can't be automated, but certain parts of the tasks within sales and marketing can be. You might achieve number one, your customers will be more happy because they will be more relevant. They will get more relevant messages, but also your staff will be more happy because they will be the customers want to talk to you. And what we want to achieve by that is the one of the principle of growth: staff retention, That's number one. And number two, happiness of the customer.
I love this. If I understood you correctly, this is what's happening. Customers are moving through their customer journey, and rather than randomly giving them information, offers, whatever touch points, you understand exactly what they need, what they're thinking about, the questions on their mind. At every specific point, you're answering them, giving them the information they need, the help, the value, and therefore they feel you understand them. Everything is relevant, they're looking for it, and therefore they won't ignore it. As well as one of the things that will really cause your employees to be frustrated is the friction that happens when they're not giving the customers what they're looking for. They're meeting them at the wrong time or with the wrong thing, which causes resistance, and people will call that rejection. It hurts them. It makes their days really frustrating and annoying, where they feel they're an unwelcome pest rather than a welcome guest. And therefore, if they're coming to the people at the right time, at the right place in the customer journey, after they have been educated in the correct way, when they're ready to buy, the people will be like, yes, finally, I was waiting for this opportunity. And therefore, it becomes a co-creation rather than a coercion. Did I understand correctly?
Yes, that's right. I would probably name this as a trust. So automation equals trust. So building that trust that you need to get. And by giving you the example, so if someone is phoning me up to extend my car insurance in the wrong way, in the way that I don't understand, in the way that they don't have a data set, they don't have the renewal date, for example, as a minimum option to understand my needs, then I can treat this as a spam. But at least minimum data that I want to get from that client is the date of the renewal. I don't want to get if my renewal is in January, I don't want to actually get any renewal messages on in February, because I already renewed. So that is completely irrelevant. And that is the example that we can actually use in different parts of the business, depending on the size and industry.
Thank you. And let's, zoom out to the 10,000 feet or 10,000 kilometers or whatever altitude to have a full perspective of the picture. Please define what is trust, what is relationship, and what builds them compared to what destroys them. Because if we're speaking about tactics, we have to think strategically in the bigger picture. What's a relationship, so that we know whether we'll build in it or we're not? What is trust? What builds it? What destroys it? Can you define these terms so that any listener or viewer will be on the same page, and when you speak about technique, case studies, or tactics, they can fit those within a mental model?
One single answer to that question is probably building the customer journey for the business, because every business is different. Every business is different, and everything that we are and how we communicate is different. So touch points, very important aspect. But what type of business we're in? Are we in B2C business, where quick sale is a normal, or B2B is more relationship, more? It all depends also on the average deal size in your pipeline. If you tend to average deal size is, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. That is a little bit of different. That average deal size is, I don't know, $50, $100. So all depends on the aspects, because and the drivers. And one one idea of the model, how to actually organize, is number one, have a good database. I'm not referring that HubSpot is best, but whatever system that you have, even Excel, doesn't matter. Have a database that you actually get that buying signals in place. Number two, buying signals. What is buying signals? So if you visit the page and you actually look at the different, I don't know, blog posts or even pricing page, doesn't mean that you buy, but you're driving something. Your emails, your social media posts are driving that conversation towards one place. Usually it is your website or anything that you can interact with. Map out these buying signals. Make sure that you have a scoring system that will actually apply to these signals, and then test it. So my idea of actually looking at the different automation model is to actually looking back at ideal client, what they did in order to make a purchase from you. Get this data. Get the data. What have you done? How many times they've opened the email? How many times they've interacted with your sales? what was actually the place, the moment they booked that final meeting with the sales rep to get this deal done. What was the driver now? And then next stage is to collect that data back to your system. So once they bought from you, what was the motivation behind their purchase? Do you have a system in place to get that data? Even try to phone them up. Good salespeople should always phone after the sales, I don't know, week, 2 weeks, month after, by saying, "Oh, hey, hi, John, it was great. We have done some work for you. Let me know why you actually choose us." And once you actually identify, this is not easy work. This is probably the work that you need to have a constantly, and to everything. Your customer is changing, your profile is changing. But once you might identify key points, you might identify key aspects or what you can automate, and you can more be predictable when it comes to your income and your forecast, sales forecast.
Thank you. I love this. And if I understood you correctly again, a lot of business people are in touch or not with the reality that they don't have infinite resources, and therefore you cannot go after everyone. Otherwise, you will be dispersed and you'll run out of money, time, effort, energy, people, whatever it is. And therefore, you should use those resources in the wisest way possible, and that is to communicate with, keep in touch with, follow up with, help create goodwill with the people who are most likely to buy. And how would you identify those people? They do things that show they're interested, whether they're reading a blog post about how to begin using a product, your product or a product similar to yours. They go, for example, to your checkout page if that's your business model, but then they don't complete the transaction. Or they're using the demo of your product, but they're really using it and they're extracting every ounce of possibility. So they're highly interested, not people who are dabblers. And if you focus on those, finding more of them, identifying more of them, and spending more money on them is the highest ROI for your business to get more money faster, quicker, in a more predictable way, as well as keeping your ear open to listen, because who is buying today for whatever reason could be different to who is buying next week or next month and their reasons for buying. And therefore you won't be caught off guard thinking, oh yes, finally I have the unlock sequence to the sales, but what you found is what's working today, which may not work 1 month from now, and you'll end up just doing the wrong things that used to be right before. Did I understand correctly?
Fantastic, yes. And what I would like to add also is that system and that idea also applies not to the new clients but to the existing ones. So what are we doing now, and how we mapping out that interaction, that relationship with current clients? Because remember, 80-20 rule. 80% of your income will probably 20%, yeah, 80% of income will come from your customers. 20% is just for a new customer. Use your customer database first and make sure that these people will refer the business, and we will make sure that these people are actually want to be with us. So very good example is, let's say you buy the gym membership, and obviously with gym membership you've got this little card usually, and you're scanning this card on your entrance. So if you're scanning this card once a week, twice a week, that's brilliant. Once a month, that is the signal for your business. Okay, that person probably, if that card won't be scanned every week, probably that membership will be cancelled, because the predictability of them to actually cancel because they don't use the service. So our idea is for the gym owners, let's make sure that people will come back to us so they can see the value of the product.
Thank you. I love this. Again, I keep saying it. And if I understood you correctly, the idea to think about that getting a new customer is one of the most expensive and hardest things you can do as a business. And therefore, you should really take care of and have as good of a retention as possible for your clients. Because every client you lose, you need to, in order to grow, replace them with two to replace that revenue and add more. And therefore, each one existing client loss is like double the effort or whatever in order to replace them. And therefore, if you notice signals, which won't be the buying signals, but like the attrition signals or whatever you might call it, you should bring those people back into the fold serve them, heighten their interest. They already paid you, and that's a huge signal of trust, because the hurdle of paying that first dollar or pound or euro or whatever is the most difficult one. If they paid once and they got something, they can trust that you can keep your promises. And you spoke about HubSpot. Tell me more about it, because I noticed you wrote once that it can replace 10 to 15 different tools. What kinds of tools, so that people can understand it, what to keep in mind, what can help with, like, when using HubSpot, what's wonderful about it? How can it be the cockpit for a whole business that's keeping it going on track and all the data in front of you that is relevant?
As is perfect question, I think the best answer is a little bit of my history, why I've ended up to stick with HubSpot. I'm an entrepreneur. I run multiple businesses in the UK, and I ended up with nightmare of my database. I used to run quite a lot of business events in London, about 70 per annum. So imagine number of data that I have created with different sources, with Eventbrite as a registration tool, people from the web pages, then a little bit of places like old landing pages from different different websites, but also hey ho invoices. Then you name it is just extra some kind of activities like campaigns in Facebook and automate. So I was a bit lost. I used my different systems, including like Gmail for emails. Then I had a Capsule, vTiger, and different email systems in place. But I was lost. I didn't have a one place that I can actually reflect on where I am with the business. So when it comes to HubSpot, HubSpot offer fantastic opportunity to actually build most of your entire business cycle in one place. So starting from attracting clients. So when you actually come to HubSpot, you can have you can serve ads if you wish, but from HubSpot, but also landing pages, everything that attract business, social media posts, so everything from marketing perspective, where emailing marketing, but then sales, so you can build the workflows around sales pipelines, automation, and then finally once the client will reach, you can serve them, you can open the tickets, you can actually provide a great value. So this is the whole cycle of it. But the beauty about HubSpot is probably with the dashboard. I have to say most of the clients love the dashboard. So by the end of the week, of the month, we will have a dashboards, how the traffic is generated, how much is worth to you, and how much we actually close the deal, how is affected our sales. And then we can actually, and this is what you actually said at the very beginning, we can make a better decision. We can make a decision based on the facts, not based on actually a salesperson interview. It is actually the fact that this happened.
Wonderful. I love that. It sounds very exciting, because when you can have, like you mentioned, a predictable income stream or a predictable view in the future, you're not like many CEOs describe. They say, I feel like I'm driving a car blindfolded, and that's not a good place to be. And you said, a lot of people are coming to you, you yourself, you're using the automation tools that you're using. What are usually the causes or motivations that bring people to you, that seem to be nowadays the biggest motivations for people to automate, to get better reporting, or whatever they use your services? As well as, if people want to find you, can you speak about Automate Now, what services you offer, and where people can find out more?
Yeah, so I think the best problem, the main problem of the people is losing the sales. So suddenly, so either losing the sales or they want to grow, but they don't have a proper system in place. Sales is the main factor. So when it comes to growing your sales, there are two factors. One, you need to have a people. You need to have a people who can actually start selling. The problem now with COVID, obviously, is that most of the people are scattered all over the countries. You can work whatever you are, but you need to actually provide the service and so on. So HubSpot will actually sort this out for you, because you can actually see number of activities per salesperson. So during the COVID, we with the HubSpot, we had loads of work to actually help onboard what we called virtual sales team. We can actually have this available. We can have this. You can, as a sales manager, sales executives, you can work with your virtual sales team, and you can set this up. The second motivation is probably the lost. I think I would say that probably the same my story. It's you're lost with where you are with business. You actually can't see the proper numbers in front of you. And when you actually use, let's say, a different email platform for mailings, then another one for capturing the sales, the other for tickets, another one for like invoicing, and then you imagine you've got a problem to actually scale your business. Majority of the business are the scale ups, people, the businesses who want to actually reach the other markets, and the system is there for them. So at Automate now, what we do is I'm entrepreneur, as I say, so I'm coming from the practical knowledge, not agency background. We are working with handful of clients, helping them to set up the sales, marketing, whatever is necessarily. But the best way to engage with us is to actually join to one of our workshop. We share knowledge for free. We want to build community around our our automation, but also share best practice. So every month we run the half an hour workshop on different subjects. Actually, next one is tomorrow. But what we're gonna do is we can send the automatenow.uk is the website to go for. You can sign up for next available slots, and just start talking to us. What is the problem? We want to actually solve the problem, not solve our solution.
Thank you. And that's exactly what you were mentioning, that instead of interviewing salespeople, you have to speak to the customers, understand their current actual problems, and helping them with the outcomes they need right now, not what people who came to you before needed, because that's why the value of calling and getting feedback from people at the point of purchase or time of purchase or 2 weeks later or whatever, because you can notice changes in the trends. Thank you so much. And I cannot end, of course, without saying that for everybody who is watching or listening, if you would like to automate your business, of course, use Automation Now and go to Bart, as well as feel free to test PROCESIO. PROCESIO is the modern low-code, no-code platform for advanced automation and creating an enterprise-grade backend for your software. Anybody listening can request a totally free account at procesio.app, where they get 1 full hour of execution time, which is equivalent to 100 human hours. And that's a lot. And for those who need more, would like to upgrade, there is a very generous discount code, better50 off, one word, capital letters, to get 50% off any package they choose. More details in the description. And thank you, Bart. This was my privilege, my honor, a very enriching and enlightening conversation. And I wish you a great and hopefully sunny tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Aziz. And it was I'm glad I could be featured in your podcast. Thank you very much for watching and listening.